The Silent Song of the Forest. A gentle dawn light crept over the rolling hills as a lone elf stood at the forest's edge. Liriel Serale took a deep breath of the cool morning air, her heart fluttering with quiet resolve. Beyond lay the ancient wood, a distant, enchanted forest whispered about in half-remembered tales from childhood. The elvish people called it Aelinor, a place of old magic and gentle secrets, known to few and visited by even fewer. Clutched in Liriel's hand was a small keepsake, a smooth stone engraved with the symbol of a tree. It had belonged to her grandmother, who used to cradle the elf by the hearth and spin stories under flickering firelight. The greatest of these tales spoke of a mythical treasure hidden deep within Aelinor. Gori Idori, the heart of the forest, grandmother had murmured with a mysterious smile when she handed Liriel the amulet. Yavanna Lore Alohoye Ansila Aniri Kamaterna. Mother Nature's greatest gift, waiting for one pure of heart. Most dismissed the legend as a fanciful myth, a story to lull elflings to sleep. But for Liriel, those words had always rung true like an echo in her soul. Now that seed had grown into a gentle yearning that could no longer be ignored. With the stone talisman tucked safely against her chest, the elf had bid farewell to her village at first light. There had been no fanfare and no announcements. In fact, she hadn't told many of her plans at all. This journey was a personal calling, a pilgrimage of the heart and spirit. She didn't need the validation or permission of others. She stepped forward, finally crossing under the first arching branches of Aelinor's trees. Shafts of golden sunlight slanted through the canopy, illuminating motes of dust that danced in the air. The forest greeted the elf with birdsong, as if nature itself were offering a welcome. Heart steadying, she whispered a greeting in return. Antale aniron yae lanta inin. Thank you for allowing me, she whispered softly, resting a slender hand on the rough bark of an ancient oak just inside the boundary. The bark was warm and alive under her fingers. For a moment she closed her eyes and simply listened to the leaves rustling like a million tiny voices. To the distant trickle of a stream. To her own breath, syncing with the forest's slow rhythm. Thus, with quiet determination, the young elf began her journey into the enchanted forest. Her quest for the fabled treasure, be it myth or truth, had begun. As the morning sun climbed higher, Liriel ventured deeper under the emerald twilight of the trees. Towering oaks and graceful beeches stood like ancient guardians, their leaves filtering the sunlight into a gentle green glow. The air here was rich with the scent of moss and recent dew, a fragrance of life and earth that filled the elf's lungs and calmed her mind. Every footstep was muffled by a carpet of pine needles and soft soil, as if the forest floor itself wished to cushion the traveller's way. In that quiet, the elf's worries from the outside world began to fall away. Her shoulders relaxed and drooped ever so slightly towards the ground, feeling the slight, gentle tug of Mother Nature's energy. Liriel walked without hurry, following a winding path that seemed to choose itself. Where the trail forked or faded into fern-carpeted glades, she paused and attuned her senses. A subtle hint always emerged. Maybe the distant sound of flowing water coaxing her left. Or a sunbeam piercing through the canopy to light a path on the right. Trusting these gentle signs, the elf let the forest's own guidance lead her onward. By late morning, the traveller came upon a clear brook threading through a small meadow of wildflowers. Crystal water sparkled as it cascaded over stones, singing a tinkling song that invited the elf to pause and rest. She sat cross-legged on a patch of grass, and as she reflected in quiet repose, a gentle rustle came from the opposite bank. The elf remained still, heart open but calm. From between the tall ferns emerged a dappled doe with soft eyes and slender legs. She stepped into the clearing, pausing when she noticed the elf. For a long moment, elf and deer regarded one another across the brook. The doe's ears flicked forward, not in alarm, but in curious recognition. Liriel lowered her gaze respectfully, careful not to startle the creature. The doe must have sensed the traveller's peaceful spirit, for she proceeded to the water's edge to drink. Her trust felt like a blessing. In cautious, slow movements, the elf withdrew a few paces to give the animal space before settling on a mossy log. Liriel watched in reverent silence as the creature drank and lifted her head, droplets of water falling from her muzzle back into the stream. When the doe finally bounded away to rejoin the shadows of deeper woods, Liriel felt no loss, only gratitude. This brief companionship with a shy forest dweller left her profoundly moved. It was as if the forest itself had reached out in greeting through the doe, embracing her as one of its own. Smiling softly, the elf whispered a thank you. Whether to the departed deer or the forest at large, she could not say. Liriel shifted over the log and lay down on her back. Soft rays of sunlight danced across her face as the boughs above shifted with the breeze. As she reflected, she listened to the sounds of the forest. She noticed the birds directly above her singing their bright songs. Then she noticed the babbling of the stream a few yards away. Finally, she focused on the sounds farther away, the rustle of leaves in the distance, and the creak of the trees as they swayed slightly in the wind. After a few moments,